What if I told you that everything you know about the dawn of civilization is wrong? The story we've been told for generations is simple and logical. First, humans learned agriculture. Farming allowed us to abandon our nomadic lives and create permanent settlements. These settlements grew into villages, then cities. And only then, with stable food supplies and organized societies, did we have the time, the resources, and the complex thought required for art, culture, and religion. It's a neat, linear progression. Agriculture, settlement, and then finally temples. But in the remote hills of southern Turkey, a discovery was made that doesn't just challenge this story. It tears the pages out of the book and sets them on fire. A place that shouldn't exist. A structure built thousands of years before its time. This is the story of Göbekli Tepe, the temple that came first. The story begins not in the distant past, but in 1994. A German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt was reviewing old survey reports of the region. He came across a brief mention of a hill the locals called Göbekli Tepe, which translates to Potbelly Hill. A previous survey had dismissed the limestone slabs on the hill as nothing more than Byzantine-era gravestones. But Schmidt saw something else. He saw the telltale signs of Neolithic stonework. He decided to visit the site himself. As he walked across the dusty, unassuming hill, he saw massive T-shaped pillars poking out of the earth. He knew in that instant that this was no graveyard. He knew he was standing on something monumental. He would later say, "In 1 minute, I knew I had two choices, either go away and tell nobody, or spend the rest of my life here." Klaus Schmidt chose to stay. What he and his team would unearth over the next 2 decades would not just be an archaeological site. It would be a revolution. Using ground-penetrating radar, they revealed what lay beneath the hill. Not just one, but a series of at least 20 massive stone circles buried deep within the earth. The oldest of these circles was carbon dated to an astonishing 12,000 years ago, 7,000 years before the Great Pyramid of Giza, 6,000 years before Stonehenge. This was a time when most of the human race were still nomadic hunter-gatherers. And yet here was a structure that suggested a level of organization and vision that was by all accounts impossible. To truly grasp the scale of this anomaly, we must picture the world of 12,000 years ago. The last ice age was just ending. Vast glaciers were still receding. Humanity lived in small, mobile bands, hunting wild game like gazelle and aurochs, and gathering wild grasses and nuts. There was no pottery, no metal tools, no writing, and most importantly, there was no agriculture. The very concept of planting a seed and waiting for it to grow had not yet been discovered. Our ancestors were at the mercy of the seasons, following the herds and the ripening plants. The conventional historical model insists that a society like this could not have built anything like Göbekli Tepe. Monumental architecture requires a large, coordinated workforce. That workforce needs to be fed, which requires a surplus of food. And a surplus of food requires agriculture. It requires a settled society where people live in one place year-round. Göbekli Tepe throws all of that out the window. It is a massive, complex, sophisticated temple, built by people who, according to our old timeline, should have been focused on nothing more than their next meal. So what exactly did they build? The site consists of enormous circular structures. At the center of each circle stand two colossal T-shaped pillars, some reaching nearly 20 feet in height and weighing up to 20 tons. These are surrounded by smaller, similar pillars, all connected by walls of unworked stone. And these pillars are not blank slabs. They are covered in intricate, stylized carvings of animals. But these are not the gentle farm animals we might expect. These are the terrifying predators of the Neolithic world: snarling foxes, venomous snakes, spiders, scorpions, and fearsome vultures. The carvings are not primitive. They are artistic and highly symbolic. Many pillars also feature abstract human-like figures with long, bent arms and hands that seem to clasp their bellies. The sheer effort is staggering. The limestone was quarried from a nearby bedrock, using nothing but flint tools. How did a pre-agricultural society, without the wheel or domesticated animals for heavy lifting, quarry, transport, and erect these 20-ton monoliths? It would have required hundreds of workers, all working together for a common purpose. This implies a level of social organization and shared belief that we simply did not think was possible for hunter-gatherers. This leads us to the revolutionary theory that Göbekli Tepe presents, championed by Klaus Schmidt himself. What if our timeline is backwards? What if it was the desire to build a temple, the need for a shared spiritual center, that was the catalyst for civilization itself? Schmidt proposed that Göbekli Tepe was a regional spiritual center, a pilgrimage site for hunter-gatherer bands from hundreds of miles around. These groups would gather here for religious rituals and feasts. The logistical challenge of bringing so many people together, of feeding and housing them while they worked on this massive construction project, would have been immense. This immense need, Schmidt argued, may have been the very thing that spurred the invention of agriculture. To feed the builders and the pilgrims, the people around Göbekli Tepe would have needed a more reliable food source than just hunting and gathering. They would have had to innovate. And it is in this very region, the Fertile Crescent, that the earliest evidence of plant domestication and farming appears. At exactly the same time, the temple didn't come after settlement. The desire for the temple may have created settlement. It suggests that our need for meaning, for a connection to the cosmos, is not a luxury of civilization, but its very foundation. But the mystery doesn't end there. In fact, it deepens. After being used for several centuries, something even stranger happened at Göbekli Tepe. Around 8000 BC, the site was deliberately buried. This was not a slow decay of a forgotten place. The evidence shows it was an intentional act. The massive stone circles were carefully and completely filled with dirt, rubble, and animal bones. It was an enormous undertaking, almost as much work as building it in the first place. Why would a society spend centuries building a magnificent temple only to bury it themselves? There are many theories. Perhaps it was to protect it from a new, emerging culture or a coming disaster. Perhaps their belief system changed, and burying the old temple was a way of decommissioning it, of putting the old gods to rest. Or perhaps it was something else entirely, a ritualistic act whose meaning is lost to the mists of time. Whatever the reason, this final, deliberate act of burial is what preserved Göbekli Tepe for 10,000 years, waiting for us to find it. Göbekli Tepe is more than just an archaeological site. It is a message in a bottle, a whisper from a time so distant we can barely comprehend it. It stands as a testament to the incredible ingenuity and deep spiritual hunger of our earliest ancestors. It forces us to reconsider the very nature of human progress. It proves that before we built cities for our bodies, we first built temples for our souls. The full story of Göbekli Tepe is still being unearthed, and each new discovery brings more questions than answers. It is a profound and humbling reminder that our history is far older and far more mysterious than we ever imagined. What do you believe these ancient people were trying to achieve? And why did they hide their creation from the world? Let us know in the comments below.